Hello and welcome to another top 10 video. Today we're taking a look at cozy fishing spots in Final Fantasy XIV. Well, let's get started on that. First place we are going to is Solution 9. Did you know you could fish here? There's quite a few city-states where you can fish, and it's always surprising when they let you do that. Especially like at this one where it's in this fabricated location in this very shallow park water. The fish in this location are not even that strange. You would expect some like robotic fish or something really weird like that. But nope, we just got custodian carp and other things. This place just has such a beautiful view of the city overhanging it, and is one of the only few locations with flora in it in such abundance. Really reminiscent of a modern city where you have these small parks surrounded by all these steel and concrete structures. And the contrast from that makes it quite the cozy location and a much needed relief from the neon lights strung all around. Bundle up for this next one because we're heading deep into the blizzards of Coerthas Central Highlands to this exploratory ice hole. Sheltered right under this cave, we get an ice hole. Quite the unique fishing spot. Even comes with its own seat. Though, sadly, you can't sit on that seat and fish. You'll have to pull out your own seat for that. There's something just comforting about the idea that a bunch of people would be huddling around this tiny little ice hole, especially when this first became available. Just to see everyone around here huddled together for warmth while they fish in their little ice hole. Even right next to it, we have these few little tents set up around this nice little campfire. It makes for a great retreat away from all the blizzards of Coerthas. If you watched my previous walk-along video, then you may recognize this location. In western Thanalan, at the Footfalls, we have this very nice low-tide water that has flooded this location, probably due to the various raining weathers, as well as other sources of water pouring into this location. I like to imagine if they had the technology or the time that this area may have even dried up and reflooded, depending on the passing of seasons. Though that's not something they could feasibly do, especially during the ARR times. This place, no matter the time, has very nice lighting that occurs to it. Because of all the various rocks hanging overhead, the shadows cast down in very unique ways. And depending where you're standing, you also get this very pleasant waterfall noises behind you as you fish. Seeing all the fauna running about is nice as well. And off just to the side of this location, you could also go to the piers and have a nice view of not only the lighthouse, but the starry ocean edge. There's a really funny thing. The flag on the random rock with the platforms out near those piers, for some reason there's walking terrain there. I don't know if those were in there before they added Flying to Realm Reborn, but if not, it's just a funny place to put that. Maybe it's built into the scaffolding planks that they have there, or maybe they did, as I said, added it later. Now we're heading over to Canal Town, and this one I recommend coming here specifically at night if you want to maximize the coziness. As we come here at night, we get to see all the various strung up lights glistening around the location. And on these piers here, we get a nice view of the source of all the water pouring out into this location with these very nice cyan waters that we don't get in every location, but have this very clean look to them. It's not too much to say outside of that. I feel like this place speaks for itself in terms of coziness. Maybe definitely a location for a jacket and a nice low breeze that I would expect here. And in contrast to that, over in Yak Tel, we are heading to the Br'aax Reservoir. Now here's a place you definitely don't want to jacket. I can only imagine how humid and hot these forests get. But despite that, we get this nice little hole or a reservoir that we can crawl into. It's interesting that they call this a reservoir. Calling this a reservoir is a little strange since, well, it's quite small, but disclosing that, the presence of fauna within it is not very common. Usually places like these are used strictly to store clean water, whether it be for drinking or other means, or even a water source for when a dry season occurs, you have a location you can go to that you know you have water. Very similar to a well, though a well is grabbing from the rock bed instead. Even just walking down into this location is very cozy, as you might expect. And seeing these various piers wrapping around and all the vines hanging down, it makes for a pleasant tone. Over in Upper Noscea in the Oakwood location, we arrive at this small, rather abandoned pier, which I think gives it a nice, more rustic tone to it. In the distance, we have Thanalan, a giant skeleton of a deep sea creature that we don't really have too much info on. And off in the other direction, we have the Wanderer's Palace for an additional view. I enjoy how the water flows in this location. It feels very calming how it's rushing towards the player into this very shallow location. And the various views from this location make it for quite the vision instead of simply staring at your fishing rod like you might do instead. In a bit of a twist, there are little Thanalan that you can capture while fishing, though their location is far from here, instead in Costa del Sol and the Rotano Sea, which is probably a more suiting place than this very shallow pond we have here. Over in Yanxia, high above in this cliff, we have hidden away this isolated Plum spring. This place is just unbelievably pretty, and one that I recommend going to in the stark daytime when the light's casting down over the various plum trees scattered around. There's a flavor text for this landmark where it talks about a sage who once resided here. I can't think of what this could be referencing in pop culture, since a lot of descriptors in this game tend to be pop culture references, if not ones directly referencing other lore within the game. They put a lot of detail into this tree model on the actual flowers on it, as we see a little closer examination on some of these shots, that a lot of other trees do not get this treatment. Though given how rarely they use these plum trees, it's not too surprising that they want them to feel more special. They don't really give the player any reason to go here outside of gathering, so it becomes this rather special place for anybody who likes exploring locations. From up here as well, we get to see peeking over is the giant wall that hosts the gates, which definitely adds to the feeling of this location. I was really surprised they did not use this location for a more special fate like Fox Lady or something similar to that, to make it feel extra special in its approach. But I guess that's just what makes it even more cozy, is how isolated it feels. Pack your parachute because we're going to the Sea of Cloud. Just kidding. We're going to Elpis. But you may still want a parachute, just in case. Over here, we get all these piers drenched over these cascading waterfalls along these various paths. The flora in this location is so rich due to it being Elpis that no matter which direction you're looking in this location, everything feels very unique to how it's shown off. Even seeing some of the fauna in this location is not common in most locations. And another location that has lily pads in the background. I've actually been in the background. I've been marking down every location I see for lily pads. So maybe at some point that could make for a funny video where I visit every lily pad location. I don't know how I would format that, but it's an idea. Any location where the water's less still and we have this lightly running water, but not too heavy to where we're standing over a waterfall, is very cozy indeed. Heading over to the Doman Enclave, we're going to the one garden and also the final state of the Doman Enclave that you help restore. In this location, we get this very pretty gazebo tattered with various lights and lanterns scattered about the pond within this garden. As well as this, we get a nice overview of the entire Doman Enclave from this location and get to see a lighthouse lighting up the night sky as well. This is another location that's really good to come to at nighttime, but it still looks very nice in the day because of the plum trees scattered about and the contrasting reds against all the earthy colors. This place also just has a lot of funny spots you can fish from. Like you can fish from the tree, you can fish in the gazebo, or just fish directly from the bridge like a normal person would. I'd say this alone was definitely worth helping restore the Doman Enclave to its full condition that we have now. Heading over to the last location, and one of my favorites, the Fringes at the Fletcher's cabin in Dimwold. Dimwold? Probably Dimwold. I love this location because of its perpetual fog that occurs. Anytime I wake up in the morning and there's fog, I just know it's going to be a very pleasant day. And this location is no exception to that. Here we get this mini swamp, as I like to put it, because it's very small for a swamp. Around here we have various water sprites and other whimsical fauna scattered about. Hearing the larger tree, hearing the giant seedkin stomping around throughout, and the smaller orobons pitter-pattering through the water is quite literally a cabin in the woods, and I can't think of a location too much cozier than that. Well, that will do it for another top 10 thingies of Final Fantasy XIV. Thank you for watching. Up here, another top 10 video. Down here, another video. Over here, subscribe. And if you want to support me, you can become a member. My video content will be available for everyone. Members is just a way if somebody wants to give me some extra support. Bye-bye!